Good morning, class. I trust that everyone had a very restful spring break. If you remember, all the way back to before spring break, during Reader's Workshop time, we were reading the story, The Magic School Bus Gets Ants in Their Pants. We talked during this time about how this story uses a different type of genre than we're used to. Does anyone remember what type of genre it was? Yeah, you're right. It's called realistic fiction. Today, during Writer's Workshop, we're going to look at these types of stories and learn how to write them. Isn't that so exciting? So, can someone raise their hand to explain the rest of us? What is realistic fiction? Those are some big words, so let's see if we can break them down. Does anyone have an idea? If you do, raise your hand. Oh, I see a hand. What is it? Very good. Realistic fiction is the type of writing that talks about real places, people, things, ideas, but it's written in a pretend way. This is going to be a little bit tricky to get the hang of first. So let's go back to our story that we were reading, The Magic School Bus Gets Ants in Their Pants, to look through and remember some of those ideas. That's what we're going to be using during Writer's Workshop time today. So if you can remember, the magic school bus goes and it shrinks all the way down to the size of ants. So that's what we're going to be writing. Let's go ahead and start with our anchor chart. We talked about what realistic fiction means. It means writing real things in a pretend way. So let's write that on our chart. I'm going to say writing real things pretend way. See how I wrote that? Real things, pretend way. And Johnny gave us a good answer about another way to say it. So let's put a star underneath and give us another way to say realistic fiction. Johnny said, real facts, fake way. I like the way you said that because it's nice and short and sweet. Real facts. We're going to do another ... Fake way. So we're going to put stars next to those so we know that we can remember what that is. The next thing we're going to do, since we're using them into our text, we're going to write the name of our text on our anchor chart. So when we come back and we forget what realistic fiction is, we can remember what book we've been using. So let's write The Magic School Bus Gets Ants in its pants. What do we do to titles of stories? Anyone know? You're right, we underline them. And we can't forget to give the author credit. Who's the author of our story? You're right. Her name is Joanna Cole. So we're going to write by Joanna Cole. Perfect. Before we get to the story, we're going to go ahead and set up our anchor chart. If we're going to compare two things, we're going to compare real things and then we're going to write fake way. So what kind of chart should we make? Right, we're going to make a T chart. Can everyone put up their T? Good. Let's draw a big T. And what were our two sides going to be? Real things. So we're going to write all of our real things in orange. Real things. And our other side is going to be pretend way. So we're going to write black and green. Now that our anchor chart is set up, let's go through our story. So let's look at page 10. I'm going to read this page to you to give you a refresher. Different ants do different jobs, explained Miss Frizzle. Remember the forager ants that find food? Suddenly, the bus was lifted up. Hey, we're being foraged, cried Wanda. Keisha, is the movie star going to forager ants? Phoebe asked. And are we going to co-star as food? Arnold added. He sounded nervous. No, said Keisha. So, can anyone tell me on page 10 what the real thing might be? Now, whisper to your neighbor if you remember what the real thing is. Good, I hear lots of whispers. I hear that the real thing is the forager ants. Good, that's the real thing that we're talking about on this page. So in orange, because it's real, we're gonna write forager ants. Forager is kind of a big word, so should we draw a picture to help us remember what this word is? I think so. Let's draw an ant. Remember that I'm not an artist, I'm just a teacher, so I'm gonna do my best. Here's his body and his legs, and his head, and his antenna. There's our forager ant. Okay, now looking at this same page, how is it written in a pretend way? How does Joanna Cole write about forager ants in a pretend way? Think about that in your brain. Now, I want you to wiggle your fingers if you know the pretend way. Does anyone know? Donnie, can you tell me what the pretend way was? You're right. It was the bus getting taken by the forager ants. Can buses really be lifted up by ants? No, probably not. So that's the pretend way. So we're going to go ahead and write that down. Remember that it's the pretend way, so we're going to write this one in green. Bus taken by ants. What picture should we draw for this? Probably a school bus, because that's what we're talking about, right? So I'm going to get my yellow marker out and draw my big school bus. We'll do some black tires for those. Good. All right, let's skip to another page and look at this again. Again, I'm going to read the page to you to give you a refresher. Phoebe found Keisha sitting in the rain. No movie, no story, no star, Keisha said sadly. What kind of star just sits there and lays eggs? Without the queen, there wouldn't be eggs, Phoebe said. So, said Keisha, without the ants that bring food, there wouldn't be a queen? Suddenly, she and Phoebe understood. All the ants worked together. Without the forager ants, there wouldn't be food. Together, the builder ants, there wouldn't be a nest. Without the guard ants, the nest would be attacked. On this page, we're also going to look at the picture, noticing how small they are. Okay, this time, I would like you to figure out what the real thing is that we're talking about in the story. So I'll go ahead and open up the book again so you can see. Think about the real thing in the story. I'll know that you know what the real thing is once you pat your head. Ooh, I see Sarah patting her head. Sarah, what's the real thing in this story? You're right, they're talking about ants laying eggs is what we're learning about. So we're going to write that on our real thing side. Get out my orange marker and write ants lay eggs. And it only makes sense that we draw an egg. I'm going to use gray because I don't have the color of an egg. To draw an egg. Very good. So far on our anchor chart we have real things, pretend way. We have our title, we have our author, we have our list of real things. Oh, but we don't have how our last real thing was written in a pretend way. So let's go back into our story and find that last pretend way. Again, look at this picture. Keep looking at the picture. All right, who can tell me what the pretend way is? This one might be tricky. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, you're right. It is how small they are. Can people really shrink down to the size of flowers? No, we probably won't do that. So that's how it's written in a pretend way. Let's write that on our anchor chart. So we're going to say, girls the size of flowers. And I'm going to draw a pink flower to represent this picture. All right, our anchor chart is finished. We have real things. We have the forager ants. In the pretend way, we have bus taken by ants. Then we have ants lay eggs with girls that are the size of flowers. Very good. Way to point those out for me. So, did you notice how the author did write about real things? Ants are real things, laying eggs are real things, but the bus being taken by ants and the little girls shrinking down to the size of eggs are not real things. Let's practice this ourselves. I want you to, in your brain right now, close your eyes and think of one real thing about you that you could write about. So I'm thinking in my brain. Okay, I have it. Jane, what real thing are you going to write about? Could you write about? You doing ballet. Right, because you actually take ballet, so that's perfect. Now, everyone have their real thing. Whisper to your neighbor 1 or 2 ways you could write that in a pretend way. Remember to use your whispering voice. All right, would anyone like to share? Jane, can we hear how you're going to write about ballet in a pretend way? Good, I like that idea. You can write about a little mouse doing ballet, because do mice do ballet? No, they don't, but doing ballet is a real thing. All right, thank you all to my first grade friends for listening so well today during today's mini lesson. If you're starting a new story today, try to think of a real thing to write about. Then do what the author did, Joanna Cole, and write it in a pretend story. If you're in the middle of a story, maybe make a note in your writer's workshop notebook about how you can turn that story into a realistic fiction story. Remember that good writers use this genre to make their writing more interesting to their readers. I'll be coming around during conference time to see this at work, so make sure that you're being on task. Okay, if your birthday is January or February, you can go back to your writing station. If your birthday is in March or in April, go ahead and go to your writing station. If your birthday is in May or June, go to your writing station. If your birthday is in July or August, you can get started. If your birthday is in September, October, you can go quietly back to your seat. And finally, if your birthday is in November or December, you may go ahead and get started. Remember that this is independent writing time and not playtime. I expect to see smart choices during your writing.